Paul Wolf from howtoplaybass.com here. This lesson we're going to look at Bob Babbitt's bass line to Ball of Confusion by the Temptations. Now this bass line and this lesson is ideal for beginners because the tune is very simple. There are only two parts of the tune. There's a basic groove and then there's like a bridge. So if you're just starting out and looking for songs to actually play, this one's a good one to get going. Rhythm wise it's not too complex or technically demanding. You just it actually is a great lesson in just playing some notes and just making them groove throughout the tune. I have some more thoughts on that in the outro to this lesson. Before we get started, I'd recommend, if you haven't already, that you head over to my website, sign up to my free e-zine every month. We look at how to play through a song in detail. Usually it's accompanied by a YouTube lesson, and you also get the bass line in music notation and tab. Having said that, this one's not one of those, so there isn't any notation and tab, so please don't email asking for that. They're not around, but it's simple enough that if you watch this video closely, maybe make some notes, you'll have more than enough information to play through this tune and play through it along with the record. So without further ado, let's have a look at the first section, which is the verse. Okay, the basic verse pattern is just a 2-bar riff that plays throughout the tune, and the only variation each bar are the very last two notes. I'll play the riff. Obviously I was playing that slowly. So let's look at the notes first. The first two pickup notes, which also end up being the last two notes of the 2-bar pattern, are G, 3rd fret of the E string, B flat, 1st fret of the A string, and then you're into the main pattern of the bar, and those notes are that part of the pattern just comprised of C, 3rd fret of the A string, and B flat at the 1st fret of the A string, and this is the rhythm. So you've got C, C, B flat, C, C, B flat, C, B flat, C. And then the first time through, that's the pickup, which is E flat, 1st fret of the D string, to B flat, 1st fret of the A string, then back into the pattern. And then you've got that pickup, which we looked at, G, 3rd fret of the E string, B flat, 1st fret of the A string. So I'll play it all again slowly. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to play it even slower. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's the verse pattern, and that 2-bar sequence repeats right the way through the tune until you get to the bridge, which happens twice, and we'll look at that in the next section. Okay, the bridge is fairly straightforward. You just heard me play it with a MIDI file. It's basically, the way you can look at it, it's comprised of 3 major triads, and then you've got that ba 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 fill at the end. Now, if you don't know what a major triad is, it's this shape. So it'd be if you played a note with your first finger and using one finger per fret, then played a note on the string above it with the second finger, and then on the same string play a note with the fourth finger, that's a major triad. I'll talk through the notes when we go through it, but the first three parts, or the first 6 bars of the bridge section are literally just comprised of 3 major triads. So it's you see that pattern was repeated, but it was a string up. And now it's repeated again, but then it's 2 frets up. So before we go and look at the fill at the end, let's look at the notes. So the first triad is C, which is the 3rd fret of the A string, then E, which is the 2nd fret of the D string, and then G, which is the 5th fret of the D string. And then you can pick the rhythm up from the actual song, but I'll count through so you can hear it. 2, 3, 4. And then you hold that note. And then you're up to the next triad, which is F. And those notes are F, the 3rd fret of the D string, A, the 2nd fret of the G string, and C, 5th fret of the G string. And then you move it up again. And that's a G major triad. The notes are G, which is the 5th fret of the D string, B at the 4th fret of the G string, and D, the 7th fret of the G string. So I'll count through and just play these 6 bars. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that fill at the end, I'm not going to count that out. If you're a beginner, it's very syncopated, very on offbeats in a 16th note pulse. But if you listen to the Temptations original, you'll hear how that pattern goes. And note-wise, what you're doing is you're playing F. Most of that fill is in F, which is the 3rd fret of D string. You're going to use the open G string, and then the very last 2 notes that pick up again to get you back into the pattern. So it's G, the 3rd fret of the E string, B flat at the 1st fret of the A string. So that whole fill is. So as I said, if you listen closely to the original, you'll hear that rhythm and you'll be able to apply those notes, which are basically just F and then open G string and down to the low G on the E string and B flat, and then back into that riff again. And that's the bridge. So that was Ball of Confusion by the Temptations. As I said, it's an easy tune, fairly straightforward for beginners. One thing that you can do with that groove, which is quite a funky exercise and really help you work on your timing, is set a metronome going, but set it going so it's clicking on 2 and 4, and see if you can play the groove with that metronome clicking on 2 and 4, because then you'll have to provide a lot of the time feel, because obviously the metronome's not clicking on every beat. That's a really good exercise to do with a lot of tunes, this one in particular. So depending on how advanced your time feel is, that is a good exercise that you can apply to what we've just learnt to really work on grooving and getting your groove happening.